Alright, so at Hollywood Casino on Roulette, we use what's called picture bets. Basically, we paint a picture with the checks and we know what amount those pay. It makes us easier to pay out the wagers. If you have one corner and one split, that is going to be a $25 payout. If you have one split and one straight up, it will be a $52 payout. If you have two corners and one straight up, also known as the Mickey Mouse, you will have a $51 payout. If you have two splits and one straight up, you will have a $69 payout. If you have two corners and one split, you will have a $33 payout. If you have four corners, two splits, and a straight up, you will have a $101 payout. Okay, if you notice, you can put this picture together by going 101. If all four of your corners and all four of your splits are covered, you have 100 even, also known as an empty picture frame. Okay, so you have the whole frame with no picture in it, 100. If you have a picture in the frame, we're at 135. If you have the cross, which would be all four of your splits with a straight up, you have a $103 payout. If you have the X, which is all four of your corners and a straight up, you have a $67 payout. By putting these pictures together, rather than having to add all of these numbers individually, we know that if one check with a complete picture frame is 135 and we are two checks high, we know that our payout will be 135 times 2. What we can also do is, if we know that we have a picture with a picture frame with a picture in it, but we're minus one thing, we can still use the picture bet. It would be 135 minus whatever we're missing, which would be 8 here. So you can still use a picture bet sometimes, even if you're minus a portion of it. Talk about a couple roulette keys or roulette cheats that we use to make the numbers easier for us to deal with rather than having to add up a bunch of numbers. Basically what we do is combine wagers to get one number. Okay? This combination is a three-way combination bet that includes a straight up, a split, and a corner. For every straight up, split, and corner, we are going to pay out 60 units. So therefore, if we have a wager with multiple checks on it, rather than attempting to add three difficult numbers together, we can use our roulette key. If we know that for every one straight up, split, and corner, we are going to pay 60, in the case of this wager, we have 6 straight up, 6 splits, and 6 corners. So therefore, this wager, without having to add up any numbers, is going to pay 360. 6 times 60. You can also use this cheat if you're not exact. For instance, in this case, I have 6 straight up, 7 splits, and 6 corners. That doesn't mean I can't use the cheat. All I know here is that I am 1 split high, which pays 17 to 1. So I can still use my 60 key. 60 times 6 is 360. I am high on one split, so I have to add 17 to the final answer. So in this case, we would use our 60 key. We do 6 checks times 60 is 360. We know we are high one split. So it would be 360 plus 17 is 377. Like that don't sound right. Another roulette key that we can use, okay, is our corner and split combination. We've already talked about this as a picture bet. Each combination of one split and one corner equals 25, which is a nice even number. So what will happen is when we get a wager like this one, okay, rather than trying to individually add up all these splits and corners, if we know that every combination of one split and one corner equals 25, then what we can do is add up our total numbers of splits, which is 4, 7, 10, and our total number of corners, which is 5, 10. And we know that for every one pair of these, it pays a quarter. We have 10, so the answer is 250. And again, just like with our 60 key, maybe we are one high somewhere. Maybe we're too high. Okay? We can still use our 25 cheat. If I now have a total of 10 splits and 12 corners, I can still use my 10. 10 at a quarter apiece would be 250, and I know that I now have to add 16 for my 2 corners that I'm high. So the answer would be 266. Okay, for straight ups, if you ever have a problem remembering straight ups, we have a key for that in roulette. What we're going to do very simply is we're going to count the number of checks on the winning number, and we're going to divide it by 2. So in this instance, we have 8 checks. We're going to divide 8 by 2, which is 4, and we are going to times that number by 7. And that will give you the payout. So in this instance, half of 8 is 4, times 7, 280 is the payout. Okay, we have one more key that's very helpful in roulette, and that's when you have equal amounts of splits and straight ups. Rather than trying to figure out these numbers, if you have equal numbers on your splits and your straight ups, the formula we're going to use is we are going to take half of one of the bets. In this case, we have 10 checks high on both, so half of 10 is 5. We're going to times it by 100, so we have 500, and we are going to add the total number of checks on the wager, so both your splits and your straight ups, to give us 520. Okay, so again, half of one of the wagers times 100 plus the total number of checks bet, 520. Okay. This roulette key will also work if you do not have an even amount of checks. Okay, in this instance, we have 9 splits and 9 straight ups. Okay, we can still use this key. We take half of 9, it's 4.5 times 100 is 450. Plus the total amount of checks on the bet is another 18. The answer is 468.